How's your relationship with the ground? For the vast majority of our evolutionary history, humans have constantly been interacting with the ground in some way. Whether crawling, squatting, playing, eating, or sleeping, we almost always had close contact with the earth. And we still spend a lot of time on the ground as babies because we have no choice. This is how we develop our movement abilities. And in a natural context, we would never lose our ability to move fluidly and efficiently down here. But our modern environments have almost completely disconnected most adults and even school-aged kids from the ground, with opportunities to sit in a chair everywhere you look. This contributes to major issues for our mobility and even our longevity, especially when it comes to falls risk later in life. So one of the most simple and powerful things you can do for your overall movement health is just to frequently get down on the ground, rest in various positions, and get back up again. This can be impressively challenging at first if you're out of practice, but with a smart approach, time, and consistency, you can restore your relationship with the ground. So one of the biggest barriers to spending more time on the ground is really just your ability to easily get down and back up off the ground. And therefore, this is one of the most important things to assess and to build confidence with. Now, a lot of this comes down to just your overall strength and mobility, but part of it is also related to techniques that you can learn and practice that will make that job a whole lot easier. So we're going to show you those, but to start with, we're going to show you a very simple and very interesting assessment of your ability to get up and down off the ground. Now, it's called the sit and rise test. So I'll demonstrate it first, and then I'll talk about its relevance to your musculoskeletal health and your overall health, as well as how to score yourself with it. So the test looks like this, where I'm crossing my legs, slowly lowering all the way down to the ground, sitting down with control, standing back up, and finishing. So that would be a 10 out of 10 test because I could do all of that without changing the technique and without using my hands for support. So to just give you an idea of how to score yourself, you've got 5 total points for sitting down and 5 total points for sitting up. You lose a point if you have to put a hand down, if you have to change your leg position, if you have to put a knee down first, or just if you lose balance or you sort of lose balance and plonk down on the ground like that. That would all constitute losing 1 point on the way down, and pretty much the exact same thing on the way back up. If I have to put a hand down or change my leg position or get onto a knee on the way back up, then I would lose a point. So your total score is out of 10. And the interesting thing about this test is that the lower you score, according to a research paper done in the 90s, the lower you score, the more chance you have of dying from any cause. So it increases, or it's an indicator of increased all-cause mortality. So that can sound a little bit worrisome, especially because a lot of people don't score very well on this test, but it's not a causal relationship. It's not like if you do really poorly at this test, it's going to cause you to die from anything. But what it is a really good indicator of your overall musculoskeletal health, which is a function of how much movement you've done in your life. And it is also a really good indicator of your falls risk, because as we get over the age of 60, 65, then falls are actually a really big killer. And so if you don't have a good relationship with the ground, if you don't have strength, mobility, balance, then obviously you're at a greater risk of falling. So this is a good assessment to check in with regularly, but you don't have to worry about actually just training this movement itself. One of the best things that you can do is actually just to build up your strength and your capacity in various squatting patterns. And we've got a whole video on exactly how to do that you can check out. And otherwise, just using different techniques to get down onto the ground while you're building your confidence with this so that you can spend more time on the ground will improve that sort of end range mobility that you need to be down in this position. So doing both of those things in tandem will sort of naturally improve your ability to do this test. All right, so we'll go through some different get up variations. Obviously you can do this to get down and get up, but basically transitioning from the ground to standing. So first one, that tends to be the easiest for people at first is a spiral get up where you are using your hands to help. So you'd have your legs crossed a little bit like this. You move toward the leg that is crossed under, place your hands down, rotate around, and then you can sort of walk your way up with your hands. And then to reverse, you just walk your way down with your hands and then sit down. So obviously you could try that in the opposite direction. So remember, hands go to the side with the leg crossed under, hands down, rotate around, and then stand up, reverse, like so. Next up, we're going more to just one hand. So this is known as a tripod transition, a tripod get up in MovNat, and or a tactical get up in Jiu-Jitsu, technical stand up. So you would be in this sitting position, one leg up, the opposite side with the leg up comes down, and the leg that's out comes behind you. Now you can either come behind and just stand right up, or you might find that you can, doing this, getting to a kneeling position is easier, and then from your kneel, you can stand up. Just show you from the other side. So one leg bent up, the opposite hand comes down, this leg that's out comes underneath the body, either to stand straight away or to kneel first, sit up, or like stand up in that kneel, like so. Next one is getting into sort of more advanced territory, but just some different ways that you could progress this, and this is going to be starting to use no hands. A lot of this will depend on your hip mobility, but you can sit up on your shins like this, and then you can bring this leg forward into that kneel and stand. And to reverse that, you just kneel down, bring this leg around and down like that. Other side, I'll just demonstrate. Kneel, around, like that. So obviously a bit more of an advanced technique there. And then even more so would be just a kneeling get up, where you'd be in this kneeling position, toes up, and then you just rock back, stand up from a squat. So one more time, kneeling, toes, rock back into your squat. So you can see there's different get-up variations that suit different levels of mobility and strength. So start with the most basic, and over time, as you improve your mobility and strength, then you can play with some of those more advanced techniques. And while you're building confidence with your get-ups, then every time you get down on the ground, a great idea is just to practice resting in some different positions. Now, at first, this can be really uncomfortable. If you're used to sitting in a chair or a lounge or a couch, then being on the ground can be a bit of a rude shock. So having things like some mats or really plush carpet or some cushions especially will be a really great help. And all of these positions that I'll show you can be facilitated and made easier by having a number of cushions between your hips and the ground, or even between your heels and your hips, which you'll see in a second. So just remember that, especially if you've got like tiles or timber floors, you definitely want something underneath you, otherwise this is not going to be a sustainable practice for you. So there's a really big range of different ground resting positions, and a lot of these I've taken from MovNat, and Erwan Le Corps has done a great job of mapping out all of these different sitting and ground resting positions. Philip Beach has also done a great job, but you don't have to get caught up in sort of knowing all of them, but the key is you don't want to be sitting in one position for the whole time. So you want to be able to, have your legs bent up like this, or try that position, try one bent, one out, opposite, try side bent like this, Try side bent in the opposite position. Try one bent here, one up. So you get the idea. You want to just try and change the position of your hips and knees to get different loads. Another great one is just both legs out like that, both legs forward like this. Obviously there's the classic cross-legged position. A lot of those will feel a bit unattainable, but if you have enough cushions underneath your hips, then it often can make all of those a lot more comfortable, or at least tolerable. You've also got kneeling positions. So right now I'm in a half kneel, and you can see it's doing a great job of mobilizing my ankle here, ankle here. You could also have toes up to get a bit of toe mobility going there. You could be on both knees. Now, I mentioned before having a cushion between your heels and your hips. That can be really helpful at first to reduce the range of motion. You may also want a cushion underneath your knees just to reduce that load on the knees from the ground. So kneeling in different positions, half kneel, obviously half kneel on the other side. You can sort of be half kneeling, half sitting, and explore all those at your own pace. Don't be surprised if they do feel quite uncomfortable at first, and don't try and spend too long in one position. Even in just 30 seconds in one position at first is a really good thing to aim for, because these become like a little bit of a stretch and a mobilization, even though I'm not sort of obviously using them as a stretch. But just resting in these positions creates a bit of a minor stretching effect. And something you can do to play with that and even increase the stretching effect is to actually just add some reaching in. So you might actually want to reach for something. I don't have anything on me. I can use my phone, reaching for my phone. And depending on what position I'm in, I can go, okay, well, I'm in this 90-90 position. I'll just reach over, grab it, and maybe reach over and put it somewhere else. Then change the position, reach over, grab it, put it somewhere else. So you get the idea. That's how you can start playing, and that adds more of a task into it that also mobilizes your body more. Okay, so there's plenty there to keep you busy. Don't try and do too much too soon. You need to listen to your body's signals along the way. And remember that small, frequent doses of this kind of movement and those ground resting positions is going to be more effective than really long exposures at first. You'll get less sore and you'll actually build up your mobility a lot quicker that way. So building that habit into your day, even if it's at work, you just get up and down off the ground 5 times every hour, something like that. Build that into your day. At home, you might rest on the ground while you're watching TV for 5 minutes instead of sitting on the couch, and you just build up the amount of time that you're doing over time. Thanks for watching. If you're finding value in our videos, then you can subscribe to our channel and you'll get notified when new ones drop.